Statistics South Africa released the quarterly labour force survey yesterday. Although it is a 0.6% higher than the first quarter this year, South Africa is facing a mass unemployment crisis with 44.1% of the labour force without work. Youth are bearing the burden with 1 in 3 young people unemployed. Dr Hendrik Botha, head of institution at Boston City campus, joins us now for more. Dr Hendrik, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, government welcomed the quarterly labour survey results, which show a slightly but significant decrease in the rate of unemployment in the country. What are some of the latest and most alarming statistics regarding unemployment for South Africa's youth in particular?
Good afternoon, Kathleen, and to the viewers. Indeed, some positive news. There has been a minor downtick in those official statistics, but the scary numbers do remain, especially considering the youth. If you think of the big picture and you break that down a bit to put it into perspective, the population grouping 15 to 64 years of age in South Africa is about 40.2 million, of which the labour force is 23.6 million. The official unemployment rate is 33.9%, and if you consider the expanded unemployment rate, that's 44.1%. So what does that mean? That means 15.6 million people are employed, 8 million are jobless. We have about 3.6 million disassociated or disaffected or discouraged looking for employment. And we have about nearly 1 million that stopped looking for employment. So those are dramatic and drastic figures. To bring it more home and to accentuate the crisis that we're facing with our youth, if we consider the youth age brackets 15 to 24 years of age, 61% of them are unemployed. And if we consider the youth category of 25 to 34 years of age, 41.2% are unemployed. Those are drastic figures. That implies approximately 3.7 million, or 35% of the 10 million young people are not employed, not in education and training environments, which is really scary.
That truly is scary, Doc. I mean, if 3.7 million young people who are eligible to work but are now despondent and are out of work, what does that mean for that group of people 10 years to come if already there isn't any hope for them now?
So there is light at the end of this tunnel. There's many causes to be optimistic and positive, in spite of these discouraging numbers and in spite of the discouraging economic environment with high inflation and natural disasters that hit our country recently. And one of those glimmering lights is the graduate unemployment rate is at 10.2%. That is 23.7% below the unofficial unemployment rate. And that's a critical factor to understand, because the broad knowledge economy is driving an uptake and is driving job creation and uptake of skilled labor. So the plan is, and the continued plan is, to drive young people into opportunities for education and training in order to upskill, be better prepared for the world of work.
Now, if we further look at the numbers, Doc, the biggest job gains were recorded in the community and social services, with over 250,000 jobs created there. However, there was a notable loss of jobs in the manufacturing and transport services. What solutions could we have there?
So interesting. There are many segments within the manufacturing environment that does show an uptick. Maybe the broader manufacturing did show a downtick, but there is glimmers of hope. There's also glimmers of hope in construction and the building environment. There is indeed many opportunities and a critical shortage of demands in finance and accounting for IT professionals across the board. There's certain segments in IT where you don't require degrees, you require professional endorsements, quickly acquire the ready skills to enter. For example, cloud computing had a surge of 1,000% uptake in employment. Management environment, office administration, the back office support environments in South Africa, agricultural, is all showing very, very positive uptakes. So indeed, the future is not that grim. It is about aligning the education and training we offer to the demands that is available and the demands that are becoming available. I think that is a critical area to address, is the skills mismatch in that we have viable human capital in South Africa. We have a growing population. We have a big, which is positive. All great societies is built on a great number of individuals. So marrying that skills match in future is critical. And in order to marry that skills match, government, organized labor, civil society, the private sector, and education needs to come together in order to address those gaps, to better understand what are the needs, what are the future needs, and how can we better meet those needs.
And speaking of those mismatches, do we possibly need to look further into our education system at a much earlier stage in order for us to bridge that gap between the skills that our children have or the young people have in relation to the jobs that are available?
Yes, indeed. I think there are many areas where the curriculum, whether it's in the schooling phase or whether it's in the tertiary phase, can be realigned and reinvented to better prepare young people, not just for further education, but also to better prepare them for uptake in the world of work. And that better preparation for me sits with more practical elements and also more soft skill elements to be incorporated into the curriculums that will stand young people in good stead in order to be more confident and better able to be taken up in the job market.
Lastly, Doc, how do we change this trajectory of South Africa's youth to help them overcome intergenerational poverty?
Yes, the issue of despondency and the issue of not being successful in a job application, leading to further misery and to this intergenerational and continued poverty is an absolute abhorrent situation. One of the mechanisms to mitigate this sits with better pre and basic career counseling processes needing to be in place in our school system and in our tertiary environment. Private sector needing to play a greater role in making candidates who aren't successful better aware of the reasons for non-success, and then education providers coming to the party to help fill those gaps and to ensure during the curriculum phase more internships, voluntary and non-voluntary internships are introduced in order for graduates to take the theoretical component to the world of work as they continue to study, and then ultimately to set up better graduate support services to ensure candidates are matched with employment opportunities, are guided through the processes for uptake. I think these areas are all critical, just as critical as the curriculum is itself, just as critical as teaching and learning is in itself. These services and functions around the curriculum is just as important, as many of our youngsters come from social disadvantaged environments. And there are many of them are first generation entries into university or first generations entry into the potential for professional employment. Thus, these guidance and assistance mechanisms where the private sector and education providers come closer together to understand these needs of the individual in order to better prepare them and better place them is fundamentally critical in the long run.
Lastly, Prof, I just need your opinion on this. If we've got so many young people that are out of the job market, how are they surviving, one? And what's your take on then enhancing informal sectors where young people are then are able to create a source of income for themselves just on a sustainability level as opposed to looking for formal work?
So let me also just make a brief comment to underline the informal sector and to underline how to assist these youngsters who don't have viable employment, who are disaffected. The South African government has some of the most progressive national development planning schemes of any country in the world. We have numerous incentives to take young people up into internships. The BE scorecards for each sector play a vital role for all of us to advance our businesses and at the same time upskill through various mechanisms, whether it's learnerships, whether it's bursaries for formal studies. There are such a wide variety of tax breaks, incentives available, and we as the private sector should come more to the party because more can be done. The South African private sector is known throughout Africa and the world as a very successful corporate machine. There's no reason for us not to embrace this opportunity and do more and do better, because ultimately our futures is hinged upon us bringing these young people into the world of work and using the mechanisms that government has made available to us more aggressively.
Thank you so much for that. That's Dr. Hendrik Botha, who is the head of institution at Boston City Campus, unpacking the quarterly labor force survey statistics for us. Thank you for your time, Doc.